So, like all big Montreal Canadiens trade conversations, even though the trade has already been made, and even though the trade does not involve the Montreal Canadiens, we still have a lot of shrapnel to go out there and dissect, take apart, and overall just acknowledge before we fully move on from this topic as a fan base. So, in today's video, what we're going to do is go over the Yaroslav Askarov trade, which saw the best goaltending prospect in the NHL get moved over to the San Jose Sharks. Now, of course, this is totally an almost trade situation, and we ended up making a video, actually, talking about the Elliotte Friedman comments saying that Askarov was almost traded to Montreal or New Jersey. But to expand upon that idea even more, what I wanted to do in this video was go over what we're hearing, or what has been speculated at the very least, as to what the Montreal Canadiens' offer could have entailed in this trade discussion. So, let's go out there and look at a video segment by Simon Sennecke, who had an appearance on the BPM Sports Talk radio show a few days ago. Nashville felt that San Jose's offer was better than Montreal's. This is a 16-minute video interview, and if you wanted to go out there and listen to it yourself, it's available in the description. Of course, though, it is French, so you kind of need to know the language to acknowledge what is going on there. But to help us out with the conversation and the translation, let's go out there to danslescoulisses.com, because Major Lefebvre went out there a day later and summarized the main ideas that Boisvert said on the radio in regards to this Askarov, San Jose, Montreal debacle. So I'll leave a link in the description of this article as well. Yaroslav Askarov with the Sharks. Montreal can console themselves with Jacob Fowler. Now, that is an entirely separate conversation. We're not going to have the, oh, Montreal's okay with their goaltending because Fowler is so good conversation in this video, but the article does go out there and give its props to the Canadiens' best goaltending prospect at the moment. It goes over some comments by Renaud Lavoie talking about Fowler, and he's good, he's this, he's that. But if you wanted to come over to the Askarov trade conversation, this is what is written about in the piece. The Montreal Canadiens were also in the running according to Elliotte Friedman. They reportedly made an offer, but the Predators preferred the Sharks' offer. Simon Sennecke was on BPM Sports Talk Radio on Monday, and he allowed himself to imagine the kind of offer the Canadiens could have submitted to Nashville. According to him, an offer including the Florida Panthers' first-round pick and forward Owen Beck would have been logical. He does agree, however, that the Sharks' offer, including David Edstrom and the Golden Knights' first-round pick, was more attractive to Barry Trotz. So with this in mind, if you wanted to cut and paste the trade return from the San Jose Sharks into the Montreal Canadiens and what they could have been able to provide, that is sort of the realm, I'd say, that makes the most sense. Owen Beck and the Florida Panthers first, add on another goalie, and you have yourselves an Askarov trade package. This makes sense because the real Askarov trade saw those assets and then the goaltender Magnus Krona get sent over to the Predators, so that makes sense, right? And honestly, when I think about the prospects involved, when I think about the picks, I'd say the Vegas pick, which is what the Predators ended up getting, is probably going to be more valuable than the Florida Panthers pick, just because the Panthers just won the Stanley Cup. It's a lot easier to say that they're going to do well, rather than Vegas, who has already been in a pretty tough spot considering their playoff defeats and the fact that their Cup win was not as recent as Florida's. Also, the Pacific Division is looking to be a little bit more competitive into the next few years, with Vancouver, Edmonton, both putting themselves into the forefront. So I could understand the value of the pick being more so in the San Jose side. And then if you wanted to talk about the prospects, David Edstrom versus Owen Beck, honestly, I think they project similarly, but maybe Edstrom does have a bit more long-term upside? I don't know. I mean, for Owen Beck, it's kind of tough because while Beck can become as good of a player as he's going to be, he's not going to overtake Nick Suzuki, nor Ivan Demidov, nor Kirby Dach on the center depth chart. And I say Demidov because he talked about how he can play center if he wants to. If he doesn't play center, then okay, Dach and Suzuki. I don't think Owen Beck has the opportunity to do that. Now, does that take away from the talent profile that Owen Beck has as a prospect? Probably not, but can you say the same thing about David Edstrom? For Edstrom, he's a guy that I think, if you swapped the teams, let's say Edstrom is a Montreal Canadiens prospect, I do think long-term he has the potential to maybe outwit Kirby Dach for a few second-line shifts here and there. That's not to say that Owen Beck is a bum or anything, I just think that Owen Beck doesn't have the upward potential that an Edstrom has. It's just kind of an inkling that I feel. None of this is really substantiated by any significant numbers or anything. It's just longer term, I'd say that two-way capable, defensively minded Swedish centers who are able to tango at the top level in Sweden have maybe a bit more to show for, but either way, that's just kind of my thought process on it. You're free to disagree in the comment section below. And then for the goaltenders, I think the Predators getting Magnus Corona in the trade, that doesn't really matter to them. They just needed a goaltender to balance out the bodies. They needed a guy who would have been capable of going to the AHL with no problems, because Yaroslav Askarov, he was not going to do that. He was already in a spot where he was behind Scott Wedgwood, he was behind UC Saros. Both of those guys got contracts this summer, so it was kind of a difficult predicament for Askarov to begin with. But either way, when you think about it, asset by asset, I could understand why the Canadiens were not able to win out on the Askarov sweepstakes unless they would have gone out there and offered a much more highly touted prospect. If they overpaid, for example, then, okay, maybe then the Canadiens would have had a shot. But if it was Owen Beck going up against Edstrom alongside of two picks that were more so in the Sharks' favor, then okay, let's be real here. It's understandable why the Askarov trade went the way it did. It is great, though. I mean, just considering the fact that Kent Hughes was involved in these trade conversations, that he was putting his name out there and trying to get a deal done. He had just made the Patty Laine trade a few days ago, so he's still willing and dealing, going out there and trying to improve his hockey team. Long term, though, I mean, Askarov would have been the best goalie prospect the Canadiens would have had since Carey Price, pretty much. So you could totally see why they would have been involved in these conversations. It's just San Jose. I mean, look, they needed this goaltender, I think, more than the Canadiens did. And ultimately, if the Sharks wanted to go full committed rebuild balls to the wall mode, they're doing it the right way. I mean, Macklin, Celebrini, great pickup. They signed some good veterans. Tyler Toffoli's coming over. They have Askarov now. And they got some really good other young prospects in the system too. Sam Dickinson, what a steal of a draft pickup that was in 2024. But either way, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Montreal Canadiens' apparent trade offer. This idea floating around on BPM Sports Talk Radio as to what the Montreal Canadiens could have offered in the Yaroslav Askarov trade sweepstakes with Nashville, but ultimately how they ended up losing to the Bay Area Sharks. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.